I think that you know, the question of women's equality and black equality have always been connected to each other from the very beginning, because even though the Declaration of Independence says all people are created equal, the majority of people were not. And they were all black people in America and all women in America who did not have the same legal rights, although they had different circumstances. Women and black rights were first connected during the abolitionist movement in the 1830s, when women discovered that they could not really work for black freedom because they were not allowed to speak in public, they were not allowed to be part of political organizations. That connection between the two groups and the two themes is really all the way through the 20th century, but it becomes especially pronounced during World War II, when the transformation of America by the war led to major changes in the lives of black people and of women. More than 2 million black people left the South. They first of all got new jobs. For the first time could work in factories. Millions joined the armed forces, had the experience of both segregation in the armed forces, but also a new sense of freedom and a new sense of protest against the conditions they were experiencing. Women who had not been allowed to go to work if they were married and middle class during most of the early 1900s now were actually compelled to go to work because it was patriotic. And so 6.5 million women go to work during World War II, 57% increase in the female labor force, and most of those are married, middle class, and middle-aged. So that changes dramatically the circumstances. The civil rights movement grows directly out of World War II and is very powerful. It has a lot of women involved in it, black women involved in it. And the civil rights movement attracts women, just like the abolitionist movement had 130 years earlier. Only the women in the civil rights movement also find, like their sisters had earlier, that they are treated as second-class citizens inside the movement. And so you have a development of a brand new consciousness of the need for women's freedom. Women's liberation movement comes out of that. The civil rights legislation prohibits discrimination against women as well as against blacks on employment. And there is a new resurgence of feminism, which results in significant legislation in the Civil Rights Act of '64 and in a whole series of higher education acts. And you have basically the ascendancy of, among both blacks and women, I know you can edit that out, among both blacks and women, of a new set of possibilities. And so you have a brand new career class of both women and blacks who are entering medical school, business school, and law school, and are achieving much better jobs. And yet the other part of the population, that is black and female, essentially is experiencing no change because they're poor and they don't have the access to the education or the economic opportunities that those who go into the middle and upper class do. So you have a paradox, which is that some extraordinary change takes place that would have been inconceivable for people 50 years earlier. And yet nothing has changed for those who are at the bottom. And that ongoing inequality and the pervasiveness of poverty among both black people and women is one of the ongoing problems that America has to deal with in the 21st century.